You've had that dream before, running from something and your legs won't move, falling from somewhere you can't identify, someone you love who died, standing in front of you, alive, a threat you can't see, a danger you can't name. You wake up sweating, heart pounding, completely alone at 3 a.m., and you think, what was that? What your brain just put you through wasn't random noise. It wasn't a glitch. It was a program, ancient, sophisticated, and still running. A program that kept your ancestors alive for hundreds of thousands of years. The question is, what exactly were they dreaming about? And why did those dreams matter so much that evolution kept them? This is the science of ancient dreams, and it explains everything about yours. First, what actually is a dream? The brain never fully sleeps. Every night you cycle through several stages of sleep, and the deepest, most vivid dreams happen during a phase called REM sleep. REM stands for rapid eye movement. During REM, your eyes move behind closed eyelids. Your brain activity spikes to almost waking levels. Your body becomes temporarily paralyzed, a built-in mechanism so you don't physically act out what you're experiencing. And your mind runs scenarios, complex, emotional, often terrifying scenarios. For decades, scientists thought dreams were meaningless, random neural firing, static between sleep cycles. They were wrong. The more we study dreams through neuroscience, through evolutionary biology, through anthropology, the more obvious it becomes. Dreams are a tool, one of the oldest tools the human brain has, and ancient humans used it constantly. Here's the first thing ancient humans dreamed about: threats. Specifically, threats they hadn't encountered yet. Finnish neuroscientist Antti Revonsuo proposed what's now called the threat simulation theory. The idea is this: dreaming evolved as a rehearsal system, a flight simulator for survival. Every night, while the body rested, the brain ran drills. Being chased by a predator, falling from a tree, getting lost in unfamiliar territory, fighting a rival, being ambushed in the dark. These aren't random nightmares. These are training simulations. And here's what makes this theory so compelling. Studies of modern hunter-gatherer communities show that their dreams are significantly more threat-heavy than those of people in industrialized societies. More predators, more physical danger, more life-or-death scenarios, because their waking world still contains those threats. For ancient humans, threats were everywhere and constant. A lion that approached from downwind, a rival tribe that had been seen 3 days east, a river crossing that looked deeper than last season. Every night, the brain took those observations and ran them as simulations. What if it comes tonight? What do I do? Where do I run? What's my exit? The people who woke up having mentally rehearsed those scenarios, who'd already run the simulation, responded faster. They survived longer. They had more children. We are the descendants of the people with the most active threat simulation dreams, which is why you still dream about being chased, even though the last predator you saw was a golden retriever. But ancient humans didn't just dream about threats. They dreamed about the people they loved and the people they lost. REM sleep is now understood to be the brain's emotional processing system. During REM, the brain replays emotionally significant events, but with one critical difference. It strips out the stress hormone. Noradrenaline, the chemical associated with fear and anxiety, drops to almost zero during REM sleep. What this means is extraordinary. The brain revisits painful memories in a chemically calm state. It processes the emotion without re-traumatizing itself. Matthew Walker, one of the world's leading sleep researchers, describes it as overnight therapy. For ancient humans, this was not optional. Imagine watching a member of your group killed by a predator, or losing a child to a winter that came too early, or surviving a battle you almost didn't. Without the ability to process those events emotionally, to file them, contextualize them, reduce their raw terror, a human being would be functionally paralyzed by trauma, unable to go back to the hunting ground where the attack happened, unable to cross the same river again. Dreams allowed ancient humans to grieve, process, and return, to carry loss without being destroyed by it. That capacity is why you sometimes dream about people who have died. Your brain is still doing what it was built to do, taking care of you. Here's where it gets genuinely strange. Dreams don't just process what happened, they solve what hasn't happened yet. There's a phase of sleep called hypnagogia, the borderline state between waking and dreaming. And throughout history, some of the most important human discoveries happened there. The chemist August Kekulé discovered the ring structure of benzene, a breakthrough in organic chemistry, after dreaming of a snake eating its own tail. Dmitri Mendeleev saw the periodic table arranged correctly in a dream. Paul McCartney heard the melody of Yesterday in his sleep, woke up, and immediately played it so he wouldn't forget. These aren't coincidences. During REM sleep, the brain makes connections it can't make while awake, because the prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for logic, judgment, and staying on task, goes partially offline. What's left is associative, wild, non-linear. It pulls from everything: memory, emotion, sensation, pattern, and combines them in ways that rational waking thought would filter out. For ancient humans, This was problem-solving at its deepest level. How do we cross the mountain before the snow comes? How do we find the herd that moved? What is the pattern in the stars that tells us the rains are coming? The answers that came in dreams weren't mystical. They were the brain doing its most creative work, which is exactly why every ancient culture on Earth treated dreams as messages, not because they were supernatural, because they were genuinely useful. There's a dimension of ancient dreaming that almost nobody talks about. Dreams as social currency. In virtually every pre-industrial culture ever studied, from Aboriginal Australians to the Iroquois of North America, to the tribes of the Amazon, dreams were shared, out loud, publicly, to the group. Every morning, around the remains of the previous night's fire, people would tell their dreams, and the group would interpret them together. This wasn't superstition, this was information sharing. Your dream about the river flooding was useful to the person planning to travel tomorrow. Your dream about the man in the next valley was relevant to the group's decision about alliance or conflict. Dream sharing created what researchers call social coherence, a shared symbolic language that bound the group together. It also served as an early warning system. Multiple people in a group dreaming about the same threat, drought, attack, illness, wasn't a coincidence. It reflected shared anxieties about real conditions they had all observed. The group that listened to its dreamers made better collective decisions. And here's the part that hits hardest. When anthropologist Wiessner, the same researcher who studied campfire storytelling, looked at what ancient peoples talked about at night, dreams were one of the most common topics. Not logistics, not planning. Dreams, shared every morning, discussed, respected, as real as anything that happened while awake. And then there's the part of ancient dreaming that changed everything. The dead came back. In dreams, a grandmother who had died in winter, a hunter killed by a lion, a child lost to fever. In the dream world, they returned, they spoke, they warned, they guided. For ancient humans who had no framework for neuroscience or REM cycles, there was only one logical conclusion. Some part of those people continued to exist somewhere. The dream world was real. The dead were not entirely gone. This single observation, repeated across every human culture on every continent, across hundreds of thousands of years, is the foundation of almost every spiritual belief system ever created. The afterlife, the ancestor spirits, the gods who communicate through visions. All of it traces back to the same moment. A human, waking in the darkness from a dream about someone they loved who was gone, and feeling, with complete certainty, that the meeting had been real. This wasn't primitive thinking. This was the only rational interpretation available to a brain without modern tools. Dreams didn't just help ancient humans survive physically, they gave them a reason to survive. A sense that existence was larger than the next meal or the next winter, that the people they lost were not simply gone. That mattered. That still matters. So what does all of this mean for the dream you had last night? The one you half remember, the strange one, the one that left a feeling you couldn't shake. Your brain ran a threat simulation it thought you needed, or processed something emotionally painful that you haven't fully dealt with yet, or made a connection between two things your waking mind kept separate, or brought someone back that you miss. None of that is random. None of that is meaningless. The dream you can't explain is the product of 300,000 years of refinement, a system so sophisticated that we still don't fully understand it. Ancient humans knew this instinctively. They didn't need neuroscience to tell them that dreams mattered. They felt it every morning when they woke up. The fear that lingered, the grief that eased, the answer that arrived from nowhere. They shared those experiences around the fire. They built entire belief systems around them. They listened to their dreamers and made better decisions because of it. We stopped doing that. We started calling dreams meaningless and rolling over and checking our phones. Maybe that's worth reconsidering. Tonight you'll dream. You won't remember most of it, but something in you will process something real, a fear, a loss, a problem you haven't solved yet, a face you haven't seen in a long time. That's not your imagination running loose. That's your brain, your ancient, exhausted, magnificent brain, doing exactly what it was built to do, taking care of you, the same way it took care of the person who slept by the fire 300,000 years ago, under the same stars, having the same dreams. If this made you think, share it, and subscribe if you want more. There's a lot more of this to explore.
Subscribe. Trust me, I know stuff.